All right, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else, welcome to the TSG live monthly talk show. I'm your host, John, here with our co host, Michelle. Hello, Michelle.
Hello.
Welcome back. Nice to see you again.
I'm happy to be here, actually. Super excited.
Yeah, I'm excited too, because we're going to be talking about something that to me, I think is kind of cool. And I'll tell you why. So, we've been through this stupid pandemic for well over the past year, and it finally seems like it's kind of winding down a bit and places are able to open. I know you were just at a train show in where was that, in Wyoming someplace?
I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming over the weekend for the Sherman Hill Model Train Show. It was
Right?
great. Yeah.
So some of these sort of in-person things are coming back. Got to be careful about that.
Everyone was so happy. Like, seriously, sometimes you go to a train show and you get like a grumpy person or two. Modelers are never grumpy, never. But, occasionally you find one that's just like, but everyone was just like, it's so good to see you and talk about trains. We're here. It was just exciting.
Right? So there's going to be more of that happening, I think, as the summer rolls on and as more and more people get vaccinated. I got my 2 shots. I'm really happy about that because I don't feel like I'm going to be giving people anything now. Right?
Right.
So that's a good thing. And one of the other things that's going to be happening, and this is really important, being tuned into this kind of thing because of the people that I know, and I'm sure you too, Michelle, know a lot of people that operate the tourist and heritage railways around the country. And I know, at least in my area, Niles Canyon Railway now is doing pretty regular runs. Billy Jones Wildcat Railroad is a sort of a grand scale. It's an 18-inch gauge thing in Los Gatos. They're doing regular runs. Roaring Camp is doing regular runs. Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pines, Steamtown.
That's the other side of the country.
Yeah, Brailtown 1897. I always call it Steamtown for some reason. I get a little confused. So what we did was, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago, I sent out emails to a bunch of the people that I know and said, hey, for the people that run these heritage railroads and tourist railroads, and said, hey, if you would like to plug some of what's going on at your railroads, we're having this show and call in. And just before the show started, we actually have 3 guys from 3 different railroads that are involved with some of the ones that I sent the email out to. So I want to bring them in and let's just get started. Unless, do you have anything else, Michelle, that you want to plug before we get started?
No, I am all about tourism and riding trains, and go ride your trains this year. They need our support. So
okay,
let's do it.
All right. So I'm going to bring in Steve first. Steve Vendt is from the Hawaiian Railway. It looks like he's frozen though.
No, I'm moving.
We can hear you, Steve, but we can't see you. That's odd.
I see.
Do you have your camera turned on?
I haven't touched it. Let me check.
We saw him a minute ago. I do know what he looks like.
I'm not kidding. It actually was working before we went live.
Fine.
You want to try maybe logging out and then logging back in, Steve? That might work.
God help me. Okay.
Yeah, we'll bring these other guys in and you can join us when you get back. So let's go to Henry Baum. Henry is the guy from the Pacific. Hey, Henry, you scared me. Henry's from the Pacific right? from the Pacific Locomotive Association, which I've been a member there for 14, 15 years, something like that. And we're going to talk to him as well. And we're also going to talk to a new friend, Scott McGhee, who's involved with the Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine. And now that Steve came back, let's bring him in. And as people come in, I will add them. But we're going to try to limit our little discussion here to maybe 6 people at the most at a time. So why don't we just go in order here, since at least on my screen, Henry, you're on the top. So you want to go first and talk about what Niles Canyon Railway is doing over the summer?
Sure. First, I want to object to your term regular. There's still nothing regular going on around the railroad. We are running trains for passengers, but not running our regular schedule. We're running the second and third weekends. Normally we just run on Sundays, but during the pandemic, we're running on Saturdays and Sundays. But just the second and third weekend of every month, we'll be doing that through October. October, we're going to try something new. We're going to do some sort of Halloween pumpkin train thing. Details will be on our website, www.ncry.org. We don't have that completely fleshed out yet, but we want to do something to keep people interested and keep people excited, because one of the other things that happens in October is tickets go on sale for our Train of Lights. And we are currently planning to run a normal, I won't say regular, but a normal, a normal style Train of Lights. We didn't run it last year because we didn't think we could do justice to the whole concept. It does look like we're going to be free of any restrictions by that time. Masks and everything else, social distancing. So we'll be able to put 400 people on a train and take them through Niles Canyon. And it should be just like it was before the pandemic. We're definitely hoping that. Now, the mask thing I want to bring up for everybody, too, is that right now the FRA has an emergency order that requires masks for everybody on railroad property. So that's passengers, workers, volunteers. It doesn't matter. Hopefully, they will have canceled that. We know in California we're supposed to go restriction-free in the middle of June, but we have no idea when the FRA will get around to canceling their order. That's the FRA. They'll get around to it sometime, but... So we're going to be dealing with requiring masks until that order gets lifted. So, that's just something people are going to have to deal with when they come out.
Very good. Well, I guess I should back up for a second. When I said running normal trains, what I mean is you're able to schedule stuff, because that's a lot different from what it's been for the past year, where it's like, well, we can't do anything. So do want to mention also that because Niles Canyon Railway missed the Train of Lights last year, that means that we the PLA also missed out on basically the operating revenue that we needed for the next year. So that's a big deal, and I think that's something that we can all appreciate, that being able to open up and run something is a lot better than not being able to run anything. So Let's go to Steve next. Steve, welcome. It's your first time on the show here. It's nice to meet you. And why don't you tell people a little bit about what you do and what the Hawaiian Railway does?
Well, the Hawaiian Railway Society, which is known as the Hawaiian Railway, is a historic nonprofit railroad. We've been around since 1970, so we've been around a little while. We moved to our current location in 1980. We operate on about 6.5 miles of narrow gauge track. Our operational equipment are 3 Navy locomotives, ex-Navy locomotives that have lived their whole life here on Oahu. The reason we formed was to save a locomotive from the North Shore called Waco 6. Waco 6 is cosmetically restored and at the yard, so you can see that. We also have 2 other Oahu Railway locomotives, and I believe we have the only 3 existing steam engines from Oahu now. We have Kawila 6, which was the very first locomotive. Number 12 was a switcher, and 85, which ran at Traveltown in the early 60s. And an odd side note, I rode on that train as a little kid at Traveltown because I grew up in West LA. So that was kind of neat when it came back. As for the pandemic, that has hurt us badly, just like everybody else. We are operating trains. We have rides now on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock, Saturday at 12 and 3, and Sunday at 1 and 3. all the rides are ice cream rides except for the 1 o'clock ride on Sunday. And what's an ice cream ride? There's an ice cream store in the Koalina Resort. And so we stop the train there for about a half hour. Everybody can get off the train, get some ice cream, or go to the coffee shop or wherever they want to go. And then we cruise on back to the office.
Very cool.
We are going to try to run our Holiday Express, which is a Polar Express kind of thing. I know we can't say that.
Yeah, you'll be hearing from someone about the trademark.
Right. That's why we call it the Hawaiian Holiday Express. We ran that the first 2 years prior to COVID. They were extremely successful. We sold 1,400 tickets in less than 8 hours. They were gone. We have in the past run a Halloween ride, a short little Halloween ride. I'm not sure if that's going to happen. The big thing is social distancing. Right now, that's what's hurting us. I can put about 60, 62 people on a train that normally holds 180 plus. So as soon as they get rid of social distancing, we'll be able to give the people what they want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know a lot of our local tourist railroads here at Roaring Camp, which is one that operates in Felton in the Santa Cruz Mountains. It's a narrow gauge. Well, they have a narrow gauge steam operation, but they also have a standard gauge operation.
Yes, they do.
They've been running at something like 25% capacity as well. And it's kind of cool if you're a rider because you can spread out a little bit, but for them, it's very tough because they're not generating the amount. They might be breaking even on a train, if that. So
we'll with the 60 people, we'll break even for the train.
Right.
But it's before, when it was 180, we had enough money to sustain us during the week if we didn't run.
Right.
So that's where it's gotten kind of ugly.
Yep. It's tough. That's what I'm always harping on that too. So what about that Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine, Scott? You want to talk to us about that a little bit?
Sure. Thanks for having me on the show.
Thanks for coming.
Hey, you bet. Just swooped in from Long Beach. So Scott McGhee, general manager at the Yosemite Mountain Sugar Pine Railroad. If you haven't been there, I have a little picture. Here's the two shays, double header, number 10, number 15, ex-West Side locomotives. We've taken the diamond stack off the 10, so it's not there anymore, and it won't be going back on. Long story on that one, but we operate 2 miles of the restored right-of-way of the Madera Sugar Pine Lumber Company that operated from just around the turn of the century till about 1931 when they went out of business. And we relayed the track starting in 1965, finished it in 1970. And we've been operating a 4-mile round trip. Train leaves the station, goes to a loop, comes back. Whole trip takes about an hour. We are kind of normal, but kind of abnormal at the same time. We are running trains 7 days a week. We daily have a train at 11 o'clock. During the week, we'll add a 1 o'clock train if the demand is there. On the weekends, we're usually sold out, starting at 9:30 and running 9:30, 11, 1 o'clock, and 2:30. Normal capacity is 232 on the train. We can push that a little bit higher if there's a lot of kids. But in the COVID world, we're at half of that. So our maximum capacity is 116. And kind of like what you said, John, at Roaring Camp, people can spread out. We actually find it's a better quality experience. There's a lot of lessons that COVID has taught us. And it's about, what can we do to give the visitor a better ride and enjoyment. And we found that running more trains with less capacity, we end up having more people attend during the day than we had when we were running 232 capacity.
Huh.
I don't understand that logic, but it's happening, and we've done really well. We're starting our dinner trains this Saturday. We'll have a dinner train through the middle of October every Saturday, and then starting in June, we'll add Wednesday nights also. And that's a 3-hour event. Entertainment, New York steak or chicken, a really family-friendly activity. They hop on the train, ride down for a campfire sing-along. And then what makes the event really special is they come back at night. and so you can hear the locomotive working the whole way up the hill. Our ride goes downhill and then comes back uphill, so you can hear, the sound of a Shay locomotive, throughout the forest, and it's pretty impressive.
Yeah, they really work them hard up at Roaring Camp. They have something like a 10% grade in some places. And there's nothing like the sound of a Shay, man. Those gears grinding.
We've got a 9.5% grade, and we follow the original Madeira sugar pine all the way to when we have the loop. The loop is what we constructed just to make a run out of it. And going up in the loop, it's a 9.5% grade, and it's quite impressive.
Yeah. Since I have all you guys here, I'm kind of interested in hearing about, if you don't mind talking about it, how important are the holiday events? I know for the PLA, because I've been involved there for as long as I have, but is that something that special events make up a majority of your guys' operating revenue for the year?
Well, I know we've started out with the train of lights, as we call it, and it started out just being for our members. We threw some lights on some cars and we hooked it up to a locomotive, and we pulled our members around and said, well, this is very cool, and this is the kind of thing we should be doing for our members. But when we got back to the station, there were all kinds of people waiting there wanting to know if they could ride, so it didn't take us too long to figure out that, here was an opportunity, and, it has grown into what it has grown into. We typically sell out 22,000 tickets or whatever it is in 2 days. It's grown, but it is, it's well over half of our income for the year, and, we understand we put it on as a means of raising income, so all of our members want to work on it and make sure it goes well, so that we can play the rest of the year. And right. I think we're learning that too, these special events are becoming just as important as having regular train operations. I think the people are less enthused about having to get to the station at a certain time and do a certain thing and get back and and everything. They would like something a little more involved, so that maybe the day events and things like that, so we're going to be looking at making changes going forward. I think, again, the pandemic has taught us some things here as well. We went to selling tickets online so we could control the quantity, and that's worked fantastic for us.
Yeah, we did the same thing. The one thing about the event trains is, well, I don't actually run a train, but I do have model trains. But when we have events, we'll get a repeat visitor. And so you'll get the people who will come back and ride again. And that's a really nice segment to have. So,
yeah. So in case you guys don't know, Michelle's the director at the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. So it's the same thing. They were closed for most of the pandemic, probably lost a lot of operating income based on that. So
yes.
We're you guys, you're kind of all on that same train.
Right.
I was going to say in the same boat, but I'm trying to keep the train theme.
And we were able to open right before Christmas, and what a blessing that was, because we were able to have at least some visitors. And it's just not Christmas without trains, so it was just nice to have them. So.
Yeah. What about you, Steve, for the Hawaiian Railway? Are there enough, I guess, special events that you run during the year that it makes up for a lot of your operating costs if you miss them?
Well, knock on wood, our rides, you got to remember where we are, we can run year round. We don't have to worry about snow. We don't have to worry about cold weather. Occasionally some people are going to get wet if there's a shower. Over the years, we've always I do a special ride on 4th of July if it's not a regular weekend ride. We have done for, it was about 20 years, we did an event for Halloween called Spookapalooza. It was always sold out. It would sell out in a few weeks, but it was a very short ride. It was only like about a 20-minute ride. And then a couple years ago, my wife and I decided to try this Holiday Express. Well, Jiminy Christmas, look out. I mean, we do everything old school at the Hawaiian Railway. You want to call to make reservations, you pick up the phone and you call us, or you come down to the station. We don't do online sales. We don't do any of that. We want to keep it nostalgic like the trains. Our 3 locomotives are from 1944. So we try to keep it that way. Well, the only place I put this out was on Facebook, on our Facebook page. There was some lady that apparently in one of the neighborhoods got a hold of the information, and she had some blog or something, and she sent it to everybody under the island. And literally, we sold out 1,400 tickets in just a matter of hours. The following year, we told them the tickets were going to go on sale November 1st. Well, when I came in on November 1st, there were messages on the phone machine from midnight on. From midnight on. There was like 7 in a row, and then there was a break for a half hour, and off it went. And again, less than 8 hours, we sold all the seats. It's
That's
hard
people like me. I did that. I'm the mom that had to have my tickets for Christmas.
And it's hard to. Everybody kept saying, "Well, put more trains on." Well, it's not that easy. I can't just add more trains. First off, we're on the west side of the island, and for people that live in town, to try to get out there for a 7 o'clock ride at night, good luck trying to navigate the freeway. Living in Hawaii is no different than living anywhere else. We got all the traffic. We got everything the same. It's just the weather's better. So it wasn't that easy to run extra trains. And another problem we have is we don't have crossing protection at most of our crossings. We stop the train and we get out and flag the intersection. So for the nighttime rides, because we normally don't run at night, we had to bring in security to block the crossings. So there's another cost and another logistic thing. So it wasn't that easy. We were devastated that we couldn't do it last year. But in answer to your original question, we usually run enough that we're in the black. And the Christmas ride is just a big bonus for us. It's just a big bonus. I can remember when the railroad was poor years and years ago, and that holiday ride that made $5,000, or the Spookapalooza ride that made $5,000, we thought we were sitting pretty, boy. We had $5,000 in the bank. Look out. But, fortunately, our biggest year was we had about 38,000 people a year ride the train. And we cater to school groups, little school groups, older senior groups, which are called kapuna in Hawaiian. They come out and ride the train during the week. We have birthday parties almost every weekend in the picnic area. There was a lady, and I'll stop talking after this. There was a lady that came a couple years ago, needed to have a birthday party for her 5-year-old daughter because she had her 5th birthday at the Hawaiian Railway.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. See, and that's kind of stuff you can't buy. And we run about 70-80% local people.
Mm-hmm. That's cool to have that support, because I know a lot of places that what we call NIMBYs here don't want anything to do with the train. They're like, oh, it makes a bunch of noise. Like, yeah, it comes by once a day. Who cares?
Right.
But to have that kind of local support must be really nice. I could see you really enjoying that.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Well, it looks like it's your turn, Scott.
Yeah, for years we didn't have any special events at the railroad. About 3 years ago, we started a Halloween Harvest Festival train, which was a daytime event where we did face painting and pumpkin decorating, and there was some little arts and crafts, and there was a couple picture stations and everything, and then we decorated everything up, including the trains, and put Halloween decorations all over it. It was immensely popular. Those all sold out on the weekend. They were daytime things, and we had activities that were going on, and we just bumped up the price for the weekend and did all of that. And then COVID hit, and we were like, how can we do face painting and social distancing in the same thing? It was like this event just can't happen. And when you get the ball rolling on an activity, people want to see it again. So we kind of put our thinking caps on, and we said, what if we did like a moonlight special dinner train, but made it flipped it and made it a kid-friendly venue. Instead of a sing-along, we told ghost stories at the campfire, kind of enhanced the narration to more, kid type of stuff. And you mentioned posting it on Facebook and how it went viral. That was what happened to us too. And we just happened to be that Halloween was on Saturday last year, and we opened it up and sold it out within an hour. Yeah. And that was the only advertising. We didn't talk about it to anybody, didn't post it on our website, didn't post it, we just had a little Facebook event. So we thought, well, let's add 2 more. And then those sold out in the next day. And so we did 3 nights of that. So now it's like, okay, we want to bring back the harvest train because that was really important. Now we have the Halloween, limited train that's going to come up. We did an event for Mother's Day for the first time this year, sold that one out. Did it again on Saturday before Mother's Day and sold it out then also. We're looking at a Father's Day and then a 4th of July event. And then we're doing a partnership with the Historical Society in town. We're going to do a Heritage Days. And their docents from town are going to come up dressed up in period costumes, and they're going to do candle making and shingle making and, some period, arts and crafts. But everybody will all be dressed up around the turn of the century. So it'll be pretty cool. But events are kind of new to us. But I've got a special events coordinator that's amazing. And, we're going to be doing a lot more this year. And just one more thing. Yeah, somebody mentioned that it encourages the repeat business. When we did the Halloween Limited, which was the evening, kind of like the Moonlight Special for kids, we had, I would say, at least a half dozen families that came back the next day, and they were like, that was so magical. We just had to come back again and make sure that we didn't dream it. And so we were already getting the repeat business right away, because we were still doing our daytime stuff.
That's pretty cool. And I was going to say something that was really relevant and like really profound, and I completely forgot what I was going to say.
It happened.
I'm sure it'll come back to me sometime as I'm trying to fall asleep tonight, and it will wake me up.
You can email it to us.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Send us an email.
No, I know what it was. I know what I was going to say. I just remembered. I was going to say something about how I suspect, guys, and I really do think this is the case, that people just want to feel normal, right? After all this crap we've been through with this pandemic, and no one can go out and do anything or see anyone, or and this is something that makes people feel normal again, and I think it's great.
Just to tag on that, I was riding up on the train on Halloween with just to kind of see, I missed the first 2 nights of the ghost story and everything, so I didn't get to see how that went, and so I rode back up. And it's neat, when the fact that even for that, we did social distance, half capacity. And there was this one family as they were getting off the train, and they said, this was so normal. They said, it's the first time that my family and I have been able to do something this year, and they just like, thank you for letting us have it,
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that's great. Sounded like you were going to say something, Michelle.
Oh, I just say it was nice. I actually went and rode the Great Smoky Mountain Railway last October. And the way they dealt with COVID in order to survive is they added a lot more cars. So their train was really, really long. I think it was 26 cars, and it's usually like 14. Wow. And so we were in car 24. So they have like this long, seriously long place for loading, but we were like 10 cars beyond that into the woods to load up. But you know what? We were just so excited to get on a train. We didn't care if we hiked a mile to get on it. So yeah. We had that feeling like we're just so happy to be here. And they had golf carts. So my mom got a golf cart right down there, which was great. But that was probably an expense they didn't know they needed. They had to have like 3 or 4 golf carts to run people back and forth. But it made it work. And it was fun. So.
Meanwhile, there's people in town thinking, wow, I never knew I could join Uber with a golf cart.
Yeah, really.
So anyway, we've been going at this for about a half hour, and I do want to also talk about some other events too. So is there anything else that you guys would like to add to what you've already said about, getting out, plug your websites or your events before we move on to another topic?
And I have crazy questions too before they go.
Let's get to the questions then. Yeah.
It's Michelle. I always have something to say, right?
Yeah, please ask them. This is
I
great.
have
I mean,
to
it's not every day that you get three guys like this in one room, right?
Yeah, true. Well, I have a story for Henry that's kind of funny. So when I first started at the museum, I've been there for 10 years now. I didn't know much about steam locomotives. I really didn't. And so we were having a steam day. So I ordered from Oriental Trading the big cutout steam locomotive. Right. And I'm thinking I'm going to get a UP locomotive because that's the only thing on this planet. Right. That's in my brain. And so this huge box arrived and I pull out this huge tall cardboard cutout. And on the back, it says Niles Canyon Railway. It was yours.
Wow.
And that's when I learned there were other things besides Union Pacific.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Yeah. And, all of ours came from someplace else too, but right now we don't have a Union Pacific locomotive. So
okay, well, if you you can order a giant cutout of one of your steam locomotives. I'll have to dig mine out and show you what it looks like.
Yeah, I think I've heard of that. I think it's the Quincy, actually. It's the
I still have it. Yeah, I'll have to pull it out. So for Scott, I've never seen a Shay work, so maybe I should come to your railway first to see my first Shay in action.
They're very cool. They're very cool.
Yeah, I'm excited. We have a model of a Shay on our layout, but it doesn't have a sound chip in it. I imagine it'd be really loud if it did, right?
Yeah, ours don't have a sound chip either, but
so I'm excited to come see that. And there was a question earlier for Steve that was way early on in the chat. And I know this was confusing for me before I went to Hawaii, but there are different railroads on different islands.
Yes.
And so you should explain yours and maybe just quickly say which ones are on which islands, because that question was asked.
There were railroads on all four of the major islands in the 1800s, 1900s. They were mostly used for sugarcane. The ones on Kauai were 30-inch gauge. The ones on Maui and Oahu were 36-inch. And the one that ran on the Big Island, that was the Hawaii Consolidated, was actually standard gauge. They ran from Hilo up to Honoka'a on the east side of the island until the big tsunami came in 46 and wiped out most of Hilo. There are currently railroads running on Kauai and on Oahu. On the Big Island, there is a great train museum at the Lapahoihoi Train Museum, and Lapahoihoi is common spelling. It's not hard. Oh, come on. I thought I'd get a smile. There we go.
I can spell it because I'm good with the Hawaiian names. So okay. I'm like Lapahoihoi, right?
They're very phonetic, aren't they?
Yes,
they are. Anyway, the Lapahoihoi Train Museum is really cool. It's the old station master's house that was along the line. They have a caboose and a little teeny mechanical engine. They've only got about 30 or 40 feet of track. But inside the station is, or the house, which is now the station, is pretty cool. They have a ton of memorabilia. The train on Maui, as far as I know, is done.
That's what I've heard too.
They're trying to figure out what they're going to do, but they're virtually done. On our island, there's us, the Oahu Railway, or the Hawaiian Railway. The Hawaiian Railway started. What the railroad was on Oahu was the Oahu Railway and Land Company. It was started in 1889 by a guy named Ben Dillingham. He ultimately made a railroad that ran from Honolulu across around Pearl Harbor to the west side of the island, up the west side of the island, around Kaina Point, and all the way across the north shore to Kahuku. There was I think it was about 60 some miles of track. This was a regular common carrier railroad. They called everything, freight, passengers, you name it, they carried it. The Oahu Railway connected with the different plantation railroads that were on the island. The Oahu Sugar, Ewa Plantation, Waianae Plantation, Waialua Plantation, Kahuku Plantation, and they interchanged the cars and the product. Most people think of the railroad here as a sugarcane train, and in fact, the Oahu Railway never hauled sugar cane. They hauled the processed sugar. Anyway, the railroad ended up, most of the operation closed down in the end of 47. The Navy took over a section of track from a place called Lualua, which is on the west side of the island, to Pearl Harbor. They ran ammunition trains back and forth. That's where our locomotives came from, and that's why this track is still in business and the rest is gone, because they ran until about 68. The Oahu Railway actually ran trains in town around the canneries and the docks until 1970. We formed in 70 to save a locomotive, and here we are. We run on, like I said, about 6.5 miles of track there.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks. I know, because it's like Hawaii. We just think of like all the islands as one, but really each island had its own railroad. So there's rail stuff you can do on every island in Hawaii, museum at least. So
yes.
You mentioned something too, Steve, you mentioned a name that I'm familiar with. You said Kahuku, and that's one of the locomotives at Roaring Camp. It is. Right? It's a little plantation locomotive, and the running serial of that locomotive is either the one after or the one before Eva 1, which was an Eva plantation locomotive that's in our train yard. Very cool. So there's a connection there. Right. And then, of course, if we go to Combreeze and Toltec, they have the two ex-Oahu Railway diesels, 15 and 19. Those are both from here. Oh, interesting.
In the Chama yard is one of them. Yeah.
Yep.
So
it's funny. You see these things everywhere. We
all
were talking.
Connected. Yeah.
Well,
and go on.
Oh, I was going to say, we were talking before the show started. We were talking with Steve and Michelle and I when we were in Cheyenne in 2019. I think it was 2019. Yeah, 2019. We saw the locomotive that they're running now on the Hawaiian Railway when it was being worked on at the Wasatch Contractors Shop. So that was kind of cool.
It was in Cheyenne, Wyoming. You don't expect to see a Hawaiian locomotive in Cheyenne, Wyoming.
So it's kind of a small world that way, isn't it?
Right. And then I don't remember where's Kama? Where is that? That's back east.
You mean Chama, New Mexico?
No, Kama.
I don't know where that is.
That's in a sentence usually.
Oh, very funny. There's a little engine from Maui that runs back there.
Oh, huh.
I wonder, we'll have to find out where that went.
It's a mechanical museum or something. I don't remember what it is. Anyway,
is that an acronym for something? Maybe.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, interesting.
And I want to say it's back east somewhere. They have number 12 from Maui.
Interesting. Huh.
Cool.
Well, very cool. Thank you, guys. I really enjoyed learning about your railroads. I'll come ride them all eventually.
Yeah. Eventually, when you get out here, Michelle, we'll certainly get out to Niles Canyon, maybe to Yosemite Mountain.
I'll bring my cutout to Niles Canyon. Bring my cutout.
Right. We can get Henry to autograph it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you guys would like to mention about the railroads before we go?
Just one thing to add, reservations are highly recommended. We sell out of our trains, given our COVID capacity, and, we're going to keep that capacity pretty much through the end of the season and until we can expand our parking lots. We're going to keep it that way. But you need a reservation to come, because if you just try to show up, unfortunately we turn people away when we're full.
And that's part of post-COVID, well, not post-COVID, but like late COVID travel. You have to make a reservation for everything. I've learned that. Yep. So you should always plan ahead now.
We're running at least 2 weeks behind because we can only put about 60 people on the train instead of 180. And prior to COVID, it was all first come, first serve.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're having to add an extra train. We started out this weekend thing as just 2 trains a day, and now demand is so high, we're now forced to run 3 trains a day.
I'd run another train, but I only have 1 track, and the 6 cars are the only ones I have.
Well, we still run the same train. It just rerun it 3 times instead of 2 times a day. So we overwork our crews, and we're never going to go to 5 trains a day or anything because it's just too much. but we're happy with what we're doing.
There's a silver lining, though, Henry, which is the overtime pay is the same as the regular pay for volunteers.
That's right. That's right. The benefits are all the same, and they tend to go away, though. I mean, we have to be nice. I can't afford to lose a single volunteer.
Right.
So
It's true. They're valuable. Very valuable.
They're the most valuable thing I got. You can have my locomotives, just don't take my volunteers.
Yeah. Well, I want to thank all three of you guys for calling in and joining us, because I think it gives people some insight, because regular people that watch the show don't get to talk to you guys every day and may not understand, how hard hit the pandemic, how hard of a hit that was on operations and on trying to maintain some level of, operating revenue. So it's greatly appreciated.
It was tough.
Yeah. Well, you're welcome back anytime. So if you ever have an event that you want to plug or just want to get some extra PR for your RR, hit me up and we'll do it again.
Sure. Sounds
All
great.
right.
Thanks, guys. Nice to meet all of you.
All right.
Talk to you
ya.
soon.
Yep.
Right.
I'm out.
Hang loose, man.
All
All right.
throw a
Take care,
shot.
guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right. That was cool.
That was neat.
Thank you. Yeah, that was awesome. It's like I said, you don't talk to guys that run these railroads every day. And luckily, we know some people and we're able to bring them on. And hey, people hopefully have a better idea now of what that is. So I want to switch gears a little bit, right? Speaking of gears, you've never heard a Shay, but you heard a good impersonation of one.
I did. Yeah.
Yeah.
I totally did.
So I want to switch gears because someone's waiting to talk, and that's actually very relevant to something else that's happening in the summer that I'm involved with.
Okay.
And so let me bring them on here. Just a special surprise, actually. Hello, Gordy.
Gordy. Hi.
Hey.
How are you, man? It's late
I'm
there.
Late for you. Nice to see you.
It's late and there's a baby due any moment. So yeah, you're all lucky that I'm here in many ways.
I was going to ask you if the baby came yet. I was going to give you a pre-congratulations then.
No, we're now T+5, so we will see.
Oh.
See how things go.
So exciting, though.
Okay,
so if you suddenly throw your headset off and run, we'll know. So
we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Don't worry. Plenty of time. We just got to watch the tide times, so you can get off the island. But it's just part of island life.
Yeah.
Yeah, different kind of island, right? Compared to what we were just talking about.
Yeah, well, we've had all the doors and windows open today because it hit 50 Fahrenheit for the first time.
Wow, that's pretty warm for you guys.
Yeah, it is pretty warm. Yeah.
People going around in their shorts and flip flops.
I mean, as soon as it got above 0, that I turned the heating off.
Right. It's a different life.
It is. Yeah, it is. I mean, but the walls of the house are like 14 inches thick, so full of insulation. So it's a very energy efficient house that we live in, so we don't really worry about it. But no basement though. That's the only downside of living on this side of the pond.
No train basement. Yeah, I'm in my basement. I have a train picture up there.
I see. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should probably congratulate you, Gordy. It's kind of old news now, but Gordy's our president-elect for the NMRA, so congratulations on that.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I am a mere director, but I will be downgrading myself to the president under our organizational structure.
So is there like a ceremony at the National Convention when it normally happens? I think
the closest thing we got to a ceremony is you get the password to the email account, and then you get to respond to the emails. That's about as ceremonious.
Passing the throttle or like passing. There's no pomp or decorum to this at all.
Well, there would be at a face-to-face. So normally at the face-to-face conventions, we would do something, and the incoming president takes over at the beginning of the board meeting that precedes the annual convention, and then we usually have our members meeting during the convention, and at that point we'll do the outgoing president will give his final presidential report, and then he'll drag the new president up, and the new president runs the second half of the meeting. That's kind of as close to a ceremony as we get. There's no inauguration as much as people want bagpipes and all sorts of stuff.
I was like, do you get to choose what you pass on? Like it would be fun.
But obviously this year we can't do that. Well, last year we couldn't have done it either. It's been a different 18 months than what we had planned. I remember the last train show. I'm very lucky in the UK, very, very lucky, because the last train show that I was able to attend was Springfield in 2020 in the Amherst Railroad Hobby Show. So I was really spoiled. Yeah, I was spoiled. But for us, we've not had a train show yet. We're only just coming out of lockdown. So we can't do any face-to-face stuff, but it's been good that we've been able to do so many virtual events. The NMRA's done a lot of virtual events with NMRAX and stuff, which have all been free. But we're kind of at a point where we need to do a few more in the summer to replace some face-to-face important things. So important to me, I've said as president, I want there to be a online awards evening where we celebrate our team's success and efforts that our volunteers have put in, because we didn't do any of that last year. So that will be coming up soon. We've not announced it yet, but it will be happening. We'll also be doing our AGM for NMRA members on the 15th of August, I think. I might have got that wrong. Bit sleep deprived already, and baby's not here yet. But we'll be doing that in summer as well. And then the team that we're putting on Rails by the Bay have put on a virtual convention to replace our national convention, and that will be from July the 6th to the 10th, and all online. There is a charge for it, but then I think there has to be kind of we've pushed the technology as far as we can with NMRAX. The NMRAX team, myself and the others, met with the Rails by the Bay guys back in February. And one of the things that I said was, if you want to really make this successful, it's got to feel as much like a in-person convention as it possibly can be. And that needs breakout rooms. It needs the ability for people to talk in sidebar conversations and all the stuff we really can't do with NMRAX, because we've never taken a cent of NMRA money to deliver NMRAX. It's not cost the NMRA a cent. It's not cost anybody a cent, because we've either had the technology donated to us or we've used open source software for it, which had its problems in the early days. But the convention that the Rails by the Bay guys put on will be great. I don't know yet what the whole schedule looks like. I don't know what all the events look like. But in defense of the team over in California, when the first NMRAX event was done in April 2020, we changed the whole method of how we were going to stream it, retrained all of our presenters 48 hours before we went live. So like with a virtual event, it's a bit different from a physical event. Like normally at a physical face-to-face event, we'd be having committee meetings, we'd be having on-site tours, and we'd be going to go and do setup, and we'd be building displays, and we'd be doing tons more like physical hands-on preparation in advance of opening the doors to the convention attendees. All that kind of stuff still goes on, but it's very virtual, and I'm sure John could say more about that, because John's kind of living that world. Whereas like to do a site visit for a virtual event, well, I'm on YouTube every day, so I'm doing the site visit every day, But I know that John and his team are putting a lot of effort in, and there's a lot of other volunteers. So
yeah, we have a really dedicated team, I'll say, putting this thing on. And the past, I guess, 3 weeks has been nothing but recording clinics, presentations, editing that stuff so that when it gets streamed out, it'll be as high of quality as we can possibly get. We also are very keenly aware of the need for the social interaction, which you touched on, Gordy. And that's really what the whole thing is built around, because we have what we're calling 2 tracks of clinics and presentations, and then a main room that has all the breakout, all the Q&As and all the breakouts off of the main room, where people can interact and say hi to their friends and go into a room and just chat for 3 hours. Just like a real convention. You walk out of a clinic at a real convention and you see a hallway lined with little groups of people talking to each other. And if you go to the hotel bar, you'll see another group over there of people talking to each other. And you usually know someone in the group, right?
I heard something this year that's really important for me. I heard that the hotel bar at Rails by the Bay is going to be the cheapest hotel bar ever.
Yeah, exactly. It's a BYOB.
Yeah,
Bring your own beverage.
There's not even a corkage charge, right?
Right?
We're not even charging corkage. I mean, it's great.
Yeah,
Okay,
you can bring whatever. Yeah.
Let me ask you guys a question just to clarify. So, there is a fee to take part in this? There's a registration. I agree with that because it is important to have the software you need. I've done some tourism conventions virtually, and the ones where we actually pay and we have good software with good breakout rooms, it's worth it. It's worth every penny. So,
yeah, you can take it so far. We've really pushed the absolute envelope of what NMRAX can be. We've done multiple streams on YouTube. We did that with SERX last fall. We had 3 continuous clinic streams going out at the same time. We moved over to pre-recorded video for certain types of clinics and stuff a long time ago. Some things like discussions forums work better live because they feel less scripted that way. Like this, but yeah, we're at kind of a limit. There are more things I want to do virtually, see the NMRA do, and I'll make those happen. I don't want to say what those are now because people just go and steal the idea and for commercial purposes, and I don't want to do that. I want to do it for our members and want to make sure that it's the best it can be. So around next year, watch this space. We'll launch something that'll be pretty epic. That won't be virtual events, but it'll be online. It'll be pretty epic. And so, you know, it's opened a whole new world. And one of the projects I'm working on at the moment as a director that I have 45 days left to finish is I asked all of our national departments and committees, how has COVID impacted you? And we're doing a COVID impact assessment on the NMRA. Deliberately to, it's me that's led this project. I pushed forward for it. And the reason I did it is because there's been, as John touched on, people have made changes, and the earlier presenters said that lots of changes have had to be done because of COVID, and it's impacted them, whether that's additional social distancing capacity, whether that's moving to online bookings. Well, the same thing's happened to the NMRA, because the NMRA has not stopped doing conformance warrants, not stopped inspecting DCC equipment, not stopped checking, maintaining standards, not stopped education. The achievement program, one of the NMRA's biggest jewels in the crown, has had more action in the last 18 months than ever because everybody's locked at home. So how have we adapted to, last month, 5 MMRs were crowned last month, 5 in a month. And if you look back through the last year, there's been at least 1 every month. There's multiples most months. And so how have we adapted to sustain that? Because, you have to scale. So all that's coming together into a report, and we'll feed that into the NMRA. There's also quite a few changes coming. As the incoming president, I need to appoint some department heads. Some people want to retire. Some people I've explained what my direction is, what I want them to do, and it's not for them. So we've moved them on, and we've let them go, and we're bringing in some new volunteers. So unfortunately, though, I need about, just like John's probably got an army for putting on the virtual convention, I think I need to recruit about 50 national volunteers for the NMRA, because we've been surviving for the last 10 years on committees of 1 person and departments of 1 person, and people assuming that someone else is doing something elsewhere, and it's not. It's kind of giving you a behind the doors look, but it's really when I didn't realize how bad it was as a member when I was reading the presidential column saying we need volunteers. Well, now I can see it's terrible. So we volunteers are like gold, and we'll be recruiting some new people, bringing in some new stuff, and I hope people will go and get involved in Rails by the Bay this year, because it's a real sign of things to come. We're not taking away face-to-face. We're back in St. Louis in 2022, and we're at the Gaylord resort in 2023 in Dallas-Fort Worth, where there's tons of trains, tons of things, and it's really hot. That's the only thing that I'm not looking forward to. I don't want to look like Frosty the Snowman. Someone will be picking me carrot up for my nose off the sidewalk, but hopefully they've got air conditioning.
They have air conditioning in Texas. Grapevine, Texas. That's
great. I saw that it's in Texas in August. Okay. I've been in Kansas in August, and that's just a couple states north of there. So you'd think it would be cooler. Man, I don't want to be in Kansas in August again.
Well, it's a massive resort, and like most things that go on with model railroading, I think that will be in people's basements. There'll be air conditioning, and everything's bigger in Texas, right? So there'll be plenty of big open spaces. I think we hope by then that the vaccination program will have taken effect. We're looking at China has vaccinated 400 million people. Look at the UK and the US, heavy vaccinations. The UK, as usual, as we're driving the vaccine forward to actually get us a vaccine in the first place, the United Kingdom is also now test trialing a third vaccine for the variant. So the hope is that by 2023, things will be relatively back to normal. I think you'll see the first few face-to-face events that people have and do, maybe a little bit still more restrictive with masks and social distancing for this foreseeable. I can't imagine how somebody would feel when they're an elderly person to get a tour group of 20 or 30 people through their basement, unmasked and unsocial distanced at this time. I mean, I just don't think it's going to work for people's mental health, never mind their own physical health. So I just don't think people are quite ready for that. Some people might be, but most people probably are not. So It's good that we're doing this, and this is going to be it. There isn't going to be some magical face-to-face NMRA super convention that's going to take place later in the year. There are regional conventions still planned for October and November time, but this is it. This is going to be top dollar, really good clinicians, and hopefully a really, really good event for people. And we should also just say that the Australians, who are relatively COVID-free, have had to cancel their in-person convention as well this year. Again, it was supposed to be last year, cancelled it again. And it's going to take place in June, the weekend of the 10th of June. It's 4 days. So it's a long weekend in Australia. They're celebrating something, I don't know. And it's something, I don't know what they celebrate down there. Not getting hit by a drop bear or something. And it's 4 days, and there's all kinds of stuff going on as it is with our model railroading community. Our NMRA community is coming together, and they've got clinicians from all over the world, and they're going to be looking at doing remote operations with the Silicon Valley lines in California. So that's the one advantage of this, isn't it? It just brings everybody together, Yeah,
I want to mention something, Gordy, because you touched on it earlier. And I think that the idea for the Rails by the Bay 2021 also is to have remote ops with Silicon Valley lines. I haven't heard anything more about that other than the fact that they wanted to do it, I think, through the OPSIG. Again, details are kind of fuzzy right now. Here's the thing that people need to realize, too, is that we're volunteers, just like everywhere else, trying to put together actually a pretty complex show. I think you probably understand that as well as anybody, having done NMRAX for the past year, which, by the way, has been a really good thing, I think, because it really pushed model railroading into this virtual space where it really hasn't, other than YouTube, I don't think it really has been much. And, I'm aware of the YouTube thing just because of what I do. I mean, I've been putting YouTube content about model railroading for, 10, 15 years now. But the thing is, we have this opportunity, and I think of it as an opportunity because of this terrible thing, COVID, to open up this sort of possibility that wasn't really, I don't think, being considered before. Or being considered even before NMRAX, that there are people out there who, for whatever reason, can't come to our in-person venues to come to a convention. Either they're too far away, or they can't afford it, or they're mobility challenged, or they're on the other side of the world in some cases, right? So by opening this up, and by the way, I should mention that the Rails by the Bay 2021 is open to really anybody. You don't have to be an NMRA member in order to attend this convention, which I think is a really nice thing. It may even actually get people to join the NMRA when they see what we've done and what we can do.
Absolutely.
And I think also that I have a strong sense that we're going to continue to do something virtual, even in the same time as we're doing something that's in person, at least in the PCR, the Pacific Coast region of the NMRA. I think we're going to continue to do virtual stuff because we are bringing people from Australia and people from the UK and people from Canada who why would they come to a regional convention, but they can come virtually? And I think that's a big deal.
I think that's the tip of the iceberg. And
yeah.
And let me tell you, it was when I went to the convention in Florida in 2017 that I had the idea for NMRAX. I just needed the technology to come with it. So I just needed the technology to move forward to a point where it was going to be acceptable to do it. And then we were going to launch it. We were going to launch NMRAX in 2019 because that was when my house was due to be completed, my new house, and we were relocating. So it was paused, and the house was delayed for various, you know what it's like, building permit reasons. And anyway, it got finished, and we moved in on the 22nd of March, and I started working on NMRAX on the 12th of April. So it didn't take very long for us to execute the plan. I think it's really just the tip of the iceberg, because those model railroaders that are isolated, and I have a number of friends who, when I was a teenager, were older than me, family friends. They took me to events because my mum and dad were working on call. My mum's a hospital manager, my dad was a Port Health Authority manager, and they were working weekends, they were on call and stuff like that. Couldn't take me to places, and they took me to places, and they were out and active. And now they've got older, they've had illnesses or whatever, and they are in their homes, and they can't leave their homes. Before COVID, this was going on forever. And we've got the feedback I'm getting from regions and divisions around the NMRA is that they're engaged with people in their division meetings now that are virtual, that they've not seen for 10, 15 years. Well, yeah, because they couldn't get to the meetings anymore, guys. You just never picked up the phone to them. They were still always there, but how many have we lost? And if you look at the figures, it's terrifying. But now I feel like it's kind of, I'm in a good position, because if you're it's like being a general on a Napoleonic battlefield. You're standing on the back at the hill, and you're able to see down what's going on. There's lots of people down in the weeds at the moment going, this is great, this is great, this is great. And Facebook YouTube at the moment, YouTube videos by fellow NMRA member Ron Marsh and Luke Towan, Boulder Creek and Model Railroad in Australia, as a member of Division 1, Queensland, Australia. They're doing great stuff, but it can go beyond that. And now it's, how do we go beyond that? So it's like, in COVID, we're still very much in mitigation. The fact that we're talking about doing a virtual convention, and I'm not able to tell you everything about it, and we're learning stuff, and we're testing new stuff, and we're rapidly prototyping things, and if it's really not going to work, we're able to drop it. That's still mitigation. We're still very much in mitigation as the world's starting to move into recovery and then the new normal. So there's like 2 more phases of this to go. And we've got to get in, right now in 45 days time, I've got to report to the NMRA what my vision is, and what our joint directors have got to come up with what our strategy is to go through recovery. And then we go into, and then we'll progress into what that new normal is. And I do believe, John, that there will be a mix of virtual events, but I think what we've got to think about is all of the opportunities that it's given us, because people have now invested in the tech, mainly to talk to their families, which I think is a good thing as well. But because I don't think people talk to their families enough before 2020. But no one certainly sat there and did their Friday night quiz or their Thursday bingo or whatever with grandma and stuff like that. But now you do. And so everyone's got the tech now, and everyone's much more familiar with the tech. So what opportunities does that give us to have highly motivated, performing teams of model railroaders around the world to deliver for other model railroaders? And that's one like huge amount of opportunity now to drive not just the NMRA forward, but to drive the whole hobby forward. I mean, really, you could work from anywhere. Microtrains put out a job that they wanted someone to design their stuff. That person could be really based anywhere in the world, and we've got hybrid companies and hybrid technologies and stuff like that. So it's an exciting time, and model railroading's like gone kaboom, right? It's as if somebody nuked the hobby in March 2020, because Pico can't keep up, Hornby can't keep up, no one can keep up. You look at, recently looked at Lionel and a few others have had to cancel huge swathes of stuff in their catalogs and move it back, simply because, and I product manage for a living, the orders are huge, People are bringing in, putting out a model, and like 3 times as many people want to buy that model. That's great for the hobby. That's and how do we keep that going? We've got to sustain, not keep people in their homes, but we've got to sustain it when like the door gets open. It's like, You see your dog. I don't want to see my dog running across the prairie for 3 days, right? As I'm watching all these new model railroaders go off and enjoy themselves out in the open. I want them to go out and enjoy themselves out in the open, but what's sticky and bringing them back? So virtual events like Rails by the Bay is a great thing.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with you about that on Saturday too. Aren't we going to do a little thing during the NMRAX? That's this Saturday, isn't it?
Babies permitting, yes. So this Saturday it's NMRAX. That'll be happening whether my second baby arrives or not. I won't be doing any of the delivering. I've just got my catching mitts in the car ready. I know now. This is second time around. I know what the daddy responsibilities are, just to get swore at and cursed at and the whole catch things. So anyway,
be supportive.
I am very supportive. Me, they're there, dear. Yes. They're there. See, perfect. And I've got it all ready. But the thing is, yes, Saturday is NMRAX. The fourth Saturday of every month is NMRAX for the foreseeable. We agreed that with the directorship of the NMRA earlier this year. It's giving people a great opportunity to go out and do clinics because you can earn AP certificates of author and volunteer, which we've not got people that have the opportunity to do that at national level otherwise. And yes, you're on at half time with hopefully a couple of people from Rails by the Bay, and it'll be a great opportunity. You're going to do, as far as I know, a quick brief. This is what's going on. This is what we've agreed. This is what's definitely happening, and then open the floor for people to ask questions. I hope.
Oh boy, that ought to be fun. People are going to want to know stuff we don't know.
And that's fine. It's the same. Hey, it's the same. If people ask me stuff all the time about NMRX that I don't know the answer to, and we can't. It's impossible to know the answer to everything for an event that is still 50 days away. Is it 50 more than 50 days away? No, 50 days, isn't it? About 50 days.
Something like that. Something like that. We don't have. We don't have that.
Far.
Yeah, we don't have that day counting the days down yet.
Month and a half, really.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I can guarantee that most magazine people are just at the moment bringing together the layout for the magazines that will be released in 50 days time. Never mind, having a whole big virtual event and knowing the ins and outs of somebody's backside on how exactly that's going to come together. It's just not going. It's like a good scotch. You cannot take it out the case. You cannot take the scotch out of cask until it's been in there for 3 years, or it's not scotch. And this is the same thing. We can't take everything out of the cask just yet, and we can't know everything, and things change and circumstances change, and last minute cancellations and all that. Unfortunately, I told you all not to do that free hotel cancellation thing, because that means that you don't know if your clinician's going to turn up till the very last minute, and you've got the video, and then you're like, yes, we're on. So it's going to be cool though, and we'll be there.
Do you know what the real challenge is of this? Is first of all, we're volunteers, so we're not paid professionals that know all about Zoom or all these platforms that you can use. We don't know that stuff. So we're having to learn about that stuff. And to my knowledge, I'm not aware of anyone that has done this kind of event yet. Not at the size and scope of what we're trying to do. I mean, there's something like 70 or 80. Sorry?
Not for model railroading.
Right. That's what I mean in that context. So, it's a lot of stuff still up in the air, and as the days go by, it becomes more clear. I mean, right now, my main focus is just getting all the content fixed and ready to go. That's a huge, tremendous undertaking. I think that we're maybe halfway there now. So, and we have half a dozen people recording the content. I'm the only person I think that's editing it right now. Actually, I am the only person who's editing it right now, that's what I do. I'm an editor right now, full time. My stuff and piece, or what do you call it? Rails by the Bay stuff. It's just never ending avalanche of work. So.
Yeah, and if anyone wants to know why the Gateway X clinics just from July last year, some of them are only just trickling onto YouTube now. That's why, because we've edited 350 hours. We've edited 350 hours of content in the last year, and it's a lot of work. But it's the good thing about the NMRA is the teamwork that goes into the NMRA. It really is. We don't celebrate Team NMRA enough. We tend to scythe the NMRA quite a lot, even those members. Really, like, I wish we were more like the US Marine Corps, because no one ever talks bad about the US Marine Corps when they're in it. But the NMRA, it's like, oh, hang on, let me just get my baseball bat out my car and whack myself around the head with it, because we do it all the time. But unfortunately, so yeah, volunteers are great, but these events end up becoming a big burden. But it's like birthing a baby elephant, and once it's over, once the birth's over with, you've got a cute little thing to look back on and go, I made that. So just remember that. That's what I keep telling myself. And if all else fails, crack a beer, you'll be fine.
Gordy, do not repeat that to your wife during the labor, okay? Do not repeat that story about baby elephants. She will not appreciate that. Pro tip.
I helped deliver our last child, so I'm just hoping that I don't have to help this time. So I'm hoping that we're not as understaffed in Orkney as we was down on the mainland, but it'll be fine. No,
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great event. You'll be there on Saturday, so I'd encourage people who are watching this after the live stream or watching it live now that have got questions about Rails by the Bay. Take the opportunity. Stop like trying to machine gun good work of other people, and get your backside to turn up and ask some questions. It's even at dinner time, so you can watch with the whole family. And then your wife can slap you around the back of the head if you ask a really stupid question. But you've got that opportunity, and it's not that long away. So if you've not already registered, get registering and get involved and start looking at the website, understanding what you need to do. Make sure you're familiar with the technology. Make sure you take regular breaks. Plan just like any other convention. When the schedule comes out, get in there, plan what you're going to do. Plan the breaks, plan the time for the family, because this isn't like a normal convention. You cannot, I guarantee, I have a 2.5-year-old as well as an unborn child upstairs. And the 2.5-year-old will not allow me to sit in this room for 6 or 4 or 5, however many days you're doing it now, 4 or 5 days for 8 hours a day, even though it's the middle of the night. She won't let me sit in this room without interrupting. So make time for your family. Plan, make sure you've got that time carved out, and the rest of your family, the people in your house, know that particular clinics at particular times you are dedicating your time to do that, and then you won't be disappointed. Because the worst thing I would want is people to say after the event that they weren't able to do something because of the family interruptions and stuff. It's going to be difficult. It's going to be tough to attend a virtual convention if you've never actually attended one before with your family in the same room. So make sure you're well planned, and snacks, plenty of water, plenty of get up breaks. No one getting DVTs, right? No one getting DVTs because you've been sat in your economy office chair for 8 hours either. That's not good. And I also recommend, my other top tip for big long conventions, having sat through quite a lot of NMRAX, is always have a kit around just in case it gets a bit sour or you wait in between clinics. You can always just do some modeling while you're watching or listening. I mean, it's all good stuff, but enjoy it. And the breakout rooms, I believe I'm doing 2 breakout rooms.
I think so. I think you signed up for 2, right?
I did. I said I'd do the 7th, and I said I'd do the 10th of July. So that'll be the beginning and end of it. So I can get some early feedback, and we'll get some feedback at the end as well. And it's just going to be an opportunity to come and ask me about anything that you want to ask me about. So a cool thing to make you and Cindy nervous is that I'm planning on the 7th of July, I'll be here in Orkney. And then on the 10th of July, I'll be down in Englandshire, because on the 11th of July, we're having our first regional NMRA meets in 2 years. Cool. Because of COVID. So but it's 500 miles away from where my parents stay. So I'll be doing the live stream stuff for you guys at midnight or whenever it is in the evening, my time, and then jumping in the car to drive down to kind of the south of England. So, but it'll be fine. It's all cool. We just got to keep, ask a busy person, they'll get it done, won't they? So,
sorry about the time zone difference. Go ahead, Michelle.
I had a question. I'm gone too. I'm going to miss the whole convention. So if I register, can I watch it later?
Yeah, they're all the content that's being produced ahead of time. So all the stuff that I'm working on now is going to be available for 2 weeks afterwards. So that's the clinics and the recorded presentations. Anything that's being done live, like panel discussions or stuff that's going to be, generally that stuff is going to be in the evening. So if there's a clinic you see on the list, absolutely, you'll be able to watch it. So just
register and then I can watch it when I get home. I'm going to Alaska for 2 weeks.
Right.
And it's right then, because they asked, I was going to do a clinic, and I'm like, I'm going to be gone. And there is no internet. when you're camping in Alaska.
Yeah.
So I'm out.
I was going to mention to you, Gordy, that we still need to hook up about, because they want to have a little intro address and a little farewell address.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can talk about that off camera sometime soon, because I need to kind of figure out what that's going to be. You could even record it there and just send me the file, and I can put it together.
Yeah.
I think that should be like massively like, Gordy, you need to like own that and make that like full of kilts and beer and like you need to have fun with that.
Beer stein.
Roll in your presidency with some fun on that.
Yeah, no, but I can pop my kilt on if you want. The problem is that this is the wall, that this is the window behind here. This isn't like a drop screen or anything like that. This is simply down because it's near enough daylight. It's 1:15 in the morning. The sun will be coming up soon. So this is like why it's behind me. I can't go any further back, but we can. I'm sure if we record a video and we do some editing on it, we can include a few different daft things. I'm not promising it being repeat quality.
I don't know if anybody can do that.
I done my Star Trek for Rapido. I'm expecting a lot from you. So
you did, but yeah, like the exit of right. That's it. Get off. Get home. Get home. Go home. Go home. Go on,
I gotta
rediscover the family. Go on, off you go.
I gotta answer a question real quick. The ladies' breakout room is at the beginning, and I should be in Anchorage that day, so I'm trying to be there for that. It's later in the weekend that we go off into the wilderness, so I should be at the beginning of the convention. Somebody's asking that question, so
yeah, I think Anchorage has internet, don't they?
I will have internet in Anchorage, and I'll have internet on the train to Denali, I think. I don't know, but after that, we get in some vans and we go to cabins like way out somewhere.
You'll have to send pictures when you get back.
When I get back.
Yeah.
So.
We need to keep you up with some satellite technology. Satellites are everywhere.
Yes, I need a sat phone. I could so knock some data out on that. You know, my husband gave me unlimited data this year because he's like, I'm sick of running over data with your trains, Michelle.
Yeah. Unlimited data is an advantage when you're a social media train person, because you're like, oh, train video, oh, let's get that on Facebook. But then we end up posting it on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and everything, don't you? Then
half of it was him. The day that Big Boy left for its inauguration run in 2019, my husband was with me, and we were both doing Facebook Live. And about 30 minutes into like the whole event, we get this text, you are completely out of data. And that was an entire month of data that we used in 30 minutes, the two of us. So he's just as much at fault as me.
So I'm just seeing some comments here coming in about the ladies' breakout room and potential Gordy stories. So let's not start any Gordy rumors, all right?
Hey, but if you show up in drag, they won't know it's you.
Drag? No, that's our national. Kilts are our national dress, mate.
Well, you know.
There was a question earlier about grass skirts and kilts and like the correlation between like maybe the two cultures.
Oh yeah, I mean, I definitely would not be putting a kilt on in Hawaii. I think I would be imitating Frosty the Snowman. It'd look like a picnic rug in 5 minutes. Have you seen how white my face is? We've seen the sun for the first time in the year today. It's been 5 months of waiting for it.
Get some sunshine.
But yeah, I mean, any events that people want me to turn up to or want to talk to me about stuff or anything like this, if I can do it, I'll do it. You know, I'm happy to help support the hobby and all of my fellow model railroaders as much as we can. So
yeah, thank you, Gordy. You've done so much. You really do. I really appreciate everything that you do.
There's more now. It's all going mad in the chat now about Gordy stories. There are no really entertaining Gordy stories, okay? There's none. It's not like my life's not that exciting.
You want to make something up so we can get a rumor started? That way people can come ask questions on Saturday.
No,
if you're there.
Recently there were enough people starting enough rumors without any help needing to be done. So.
Oh man. Well, I'm interested to hear more about your plans, about directions to take the NMRA, and
me
just
too.
so you know, if there's ways for us to help here, we have a lot of really great people in the PCR that I'm sure we could round up to make things happen.
Oh, absolutely. I appreciate it. There are lots of ways that people can support the hobby and support the NMRA. I mean, I just think maybe the NMRA's been lost in the hobby a little bit, and I want to change that. And YouTube, social media influencers, and all that kind of stuff is where we need support. And God, he's not wearing pants. No, Gordy's got shorts on right now because it's warm. It's 24 degrees Celsius in this room, so it's warm. But we all need to put in a lot of work if we want to see the hobby be successful. DCC and all the stuff that protects DCC from being patented and stolen off by one individual, so we have to pay royalties to one person. The NMRA doesn't charge any royalties for people using DCC. We keep it free. And we do that because of our members, and all those little things get missed quite often. But there is lots to come, and if people do want to help get involved and share their skills with the NMRA, then get in touch with me and we'll see what we can do. Yeah, but there will be big things coming.
Do you know what I've noticed with people that I talk to who really are kind of down on the NMRA for whatever reason? First off, I find that they've usually had a bad experience with someone in their local region or local division that just turned them off. And the second thing is, it's kind of a "what have you done for me lately" thing, because people say that, well, they haven't done anything since the standards for DCC. It's like, no, there's other stuff, but I mean, that stuff really set us up for what we have now, though. All the standards.
It's going on all the time. There's new standards coming to the membership for approval in July around DCC command stations. There's the wiring being put back. The wiring got taken off, that it was this color for this and this color for that. Now I'm colorblind, so it makes absolutely no difference to me. I have to ask somebody to tell me what colors any wire is. But the wiring standards on locomotive decoders is coming back after us working with the manufacturers, working with Bachmann and the Chinese manufacturers, and everybody agreeing around the world. It's literally everyone around the world agreeing to go back and re-input that standard because it makes it life easier for you, the model railroader. And there's just so much that goes on behind the scenes that people don't know about.
Right. Maybe a little publicity for things like that, so that people understand that the NMRA is not just some irrelevant thing of old guys gathering in dusty rooms to talk about the good old days and those damn kids,
Exactly. And I just want to touch on a few other things you just said there, like the detractors. I call them the detractors, or the mood hoovers, or whatever. The one bad incident. It takes 100 good things to make up for one bad thing in life. Takes 100, and life is 90% it's 10% really of what happens to you, and it's 90% is how you react to it. And I have that as a little sticker, a little patch on the back of my rucksack whenever I fly anywhere. It really is. It's all about how you react to it, and you think that's not the organization represented in one person or one incident or one misunderstanding, because there's always three sides to the truth, and we've got to get better at that as an organization. But look, right now, in August last year, there was a lot of saying that the NMRA wasn't interested in people that were old. We're only interested in people that were old, sorry, and that we weren't interested in young people. And then we tried to put an age on it, and they said 45, and then they said no, retirement people. And I was like, who retires at 45? I want a bit of that. and then like now we're in 2021, and we're about to have a president in July who is 34 years old, who is young, and who doesn't just model North American prototypes, and lives on a 3.5 square mile island with the North Atlantic on one side and the North Sea on the other in the United Kingdom. And that's not in America. That's not even in North America. And that's how much the organization is trying to change and is turning. But you cannot turn a carrier battle group around in a 180-degree circle in one command from the admiral. That is never going to happen. All that's going to happen is you're going to turn destroyers and frigates into submarines permanently. You're just going to sink half the fleet, and we can't afford for the NMRA to sink half of what we do. Just we need to turn around in small steps, and that's what we will start that process on July the 2nd.
Right. You want to make sure there's enough space to turn around so you don't end up like that ship in that one canal a couple weeks ago. That
Evergreen, yeah, that's annoyingly full of model trains.
Was right. Everyone was waiting for their stuff from China to show up on that container ship.
It has model trains on it, actually, for real?
Yeah, for real. So there are model trains for a UK company called Dapol on there, because Dapol does all of its sound installations in the United Kingdom. They manufacture in China, but it comes back to the United Kingdom, and they'll put the decoders in, and also some trains for Oxygen in Australia. I've got a 20-foot container full of trains there. So the Aussies are waiting for a brand new model that's stuck now on the Evergreen.
Oh, that's terrible.
Ever Given. So
Ever Given. Yeah.
Is it still stuck? I thought they got it out of there by now.
No, but it's like on
it's
hold.
Impounded.
Yeah,
it's impounded.
It's like
impounded
hostage.
on
Yeah.
900 billion, or is it 900 million? It's an absolutely astronomical number. I think it's $900 million dollar fine that they've got to pay to be released, and it's ongoing. Without getting into this, because this isn't trains, but the Lloyd's Registry in London have appreciated the loss at 300 million. So we're a bit of a way away. If the insurer won't pay 600 million deficit, we're a bit of a way away here sorting this out, and it's just getting worse by the day. But yeah, there are trains stuck on that, unfortunately, on that boat. But exactly that, you can't turn it around. And what we need to do is put in place, just like anything, we need to put in place the people, the structure, the teams. And there's a huge opportunity, as I said earlier, from our virtual world, from younger people engaging with the NMRA, and more active people engaging with the NMRA, keeping working with people that we've always worked with. We're not an ageist thing. I'm not saying the NMRA is going to be run by a bunch of 30-year-olds, because that's ridiculous. It's not going to happen. It's going to be run by its members, but getting what I call active members. So activating people to actually get involved and do good. And that's what we're doing. So the big process for that to go on for the next 6 months, Team NMRA, and build Team NMRA, build a better relationship with people, and then you'll start to see some new stuff come out in 2022. Definitely.
Yeah. I'm feeling a lot better about the 2 votes for you that came from here. They weren't they weren't both from me, by the way. That's not how we run our elections. There's another NMRA member here sitting to my left, just so people know.
That's not how we run our elections.
Yeah, that's great though. I mean, you're saying a lot of the things that I have come to realize need to happen, and it's not to criticize other people that just, I think that you get into a way of doing things that you're just comfortable with, and without someone to sort of test that comfort and maybe show you something that you could do better, there's no reason there's no feeling like you need to change, but I think that by having someone new and young, I mean, anybody under 60 is young in the NMRA, seemingly. Having someone young come in and sort of shake things up is probably a good thing. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what you have to say on our little addresses that we end up doing for the Rails by the Bay.
I'm just waiting for some more information. They'll get done for you. Some timings and stuff. I've written a little ditty for the there's a show guide. I mean, it's electronic. Yeah. It's electronic. You can download it and save it. Do not be printing it off, people. We are here to save the trees, right? We are here to think of the environmental impact of benefit of this, right?
Are we going to do a PSA? You're going to do a public service announcement for the trees?
But just think about the environmental saving of 1,200 people not getting on a plane and flying to our national convention for 2 years in the run. That's a huge carbon saving. I'm not getting on a soapbox here, but living in a place where there's plastics wash up on the beach all the time, and it wrecks the local ecology, and you've got whales dying on beaches because they've got plastic stuck in them and stuff. It's these things are important to us, and it's huge. So you've still got a show guide though, but you can download it, save it on your computer. I mean, but most people like me I was excited when my printer got used for the first time in 18 months the other week. I was quite excited. It still works. So you don't have to do that, but I've done that already. So I'll do your videos as soon as you tell me how long you want me to do them for. I'll get them done.
Well, you can probably do them for any length you want, whatever you have to say, right?
Well, I'll just chat on, and then you can cut it at the point at which you fall asleep, and that'll be a good barrier, won't it?
Yeah, we'll come up with something. I'm just off the top of my head, I'm thinking, 10 minutes, maybe something like that. If you have more than that, if you have more than that to say, go for 15, whatever. I mean, in the end, I'm the one who's going to put it together. So record what you want and send it to me, and I'll just put it in there.
Really, it's just an intro. Not every NMRA member in the world, unfortunately, will be able to get the time to come and attend this virtual convention. That's one disappointment for me, is that we've not been able to engage with as many people as I'd hoped on any of the virtual stuff that we've done in the last year. But so just shows there's more opportunity to impress. So I'll do something; it'll be fine, and it's going to be good. So if you're watching this right now and you haven't registered already for Rails by the Bay, and it's acceptable to your time zone to not be up in the middle of the night watching it, get registered. Yeah, you can always watch stuff after the fact.
I was going to say, watch the replays, right, for 2 weeks. Something else I wanted to mention, it sounds like you're winding down here, so I want to say something before you go.
Winding down? It's 1:30 in the morning, pal.
Well, I mean, you stay up for the important stuff, and here we are. No, but what I was going to say is one of the things, and I think it was kind of a profound discovery or epitome, that's what it is, that I came to was about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. I was talking with some friends here that are members of OPSIG and LDSIG. And we have our annual meet locally here, and they'll do it in different towns, whatever. And I told them, why don't we do a live streamed event, like a panel discussion or something that's all about LDSIG and OPSIG. So that way people know that there's this meet because it's a great meet. I mean, the people there are great. The clinics are excellent, knowledgeable people. They can get information and help with their layout design, that kind of thing. And so what I told them was, when you do a clinic in a room, and this is true of any in-person convention prior to now, you have an audience of 40 people. Okay. Think about this, Michelle, when you were in Salt Lake City a couple of years ago, how many people were in the room? 40, 60 people, something like that?
Yeah, probably about that.
Okay. So you could put on the best presentation ever seen by those people, but that's where the audience stops.
Right. No one else got to see that.
You know where I'm going with this? By streaming it live and by having it on YouTube in perpetuity, you just exponentially increased your audience. I mean, from 40 or 50 to thousands. It's just all about who finds it and who sees it after it's up, or who discovers it while you're doing it live. That's the power of this whole virtual thing. And it's something that has been on my mind really since then, especially when COVID happened, thinking, this is COVID, as bad as it is and has been. And I'm not trying to downplay it because I know there are a lot of people that lost their lives and lost loved ones. In a way, is kind of, if you want to try to take the silver lining out of it, it's going to make people understand the power of this whole virtual platform or virtual world that we can exist in and sort of disseminate information in. So I think that's a big thing. And I think, Gordy, the work that you and your team for NMRAX did really started that whole process. And I'm excited to try to carry it forward even a little bit more. So,
well, that's what we've always got to do, is we've just got to iterate on top of what we've already done. And we did, that's exactly what NMRAX was all about. It was about encouraging regions and divisions that it wasn't scary to go out and do something, because we were doing it live, which is the scariest thing you can do. And we were getting it out there in the public, out in front and center in front of people. It's not like organizing a Zoom meeting, will people turn up? Our Zoom meetings have not been, we've done WebEx meetings and stuff in our region, and they've not been particularly successful. Like my Division 1, I still can't get anyone to turn up, but we do a Region 1 every 2 weeks that I've done for a year, and we get about 40 people. We're getting about 10% of our region there. So where's the other 90, But just to give you some figures, right, briefly, there, as of a year, I cap this off at end of April, there has been 143,500 views of NMRAX content since it started. There was 37,100 hours of content watched. That's physically sat there and people have watched it. That's a lot of hours.
That's some good reach, isn't it?
Yeah, 75,000 views of the live streams and 46,000 views of the videos that we've put up post stream, and we still haven't finished putting up videos. So this is not really quite equitable, because we didn't get the videos up fast enough, because we didn't realize the level of editing that was going to have to go into it, and more than that, storage of that much data. That's been our biggest problem. So yeah, it's huge, but it's like I say, I've said it loads of times now, it's the tip of the iceberg. It's absolutely the tip of the iceberg. We haven't even started to crack it yet, and it'll be really exciting. I know the guys in Texas have got some really exciting plans to live stream their in-person events for those people that can't attend, that have been attending online. And I know the guys in the Piedmont division in Atlanta, Georgia, are going to do the same thing. They meet in a church. I've been there to their division. I've been to their meets, and I might be the Brit guy here, but I have been around a little bit. And I've been to their meets, and they're in a church, and they're going to live stream straight out of the church. It's going to be great.
Cool. I was going to say, I know you've been around because we met in Salt Lake City.
I had me furry sparring on for you that day. Yeah,
I met you both there on the same day.
Wow, you were really lucky, Michelle.
Yeah, and
in the same hallway, because there was only one hallway. But
yeah, it was interesting. That is the most interesting thing ever. Was being in Utah in the queue to get into the National Train Show with a kilt on, standing at kind of, if you imagine the line was in an L shape, and I was standing at the little bit of the L right near the door, and so I must have been in the view of about 2,000 or 3,000 people all seeing a kilt for the first time, right? And all these kids seeing a kilt for the first time. It's like Australians seeing snow. So you can imagine what that was like. Everyone pulling up the courage to come up and go, "What's under your kilt?" And the 20th time of asking, me legs, right? It gets a bit dull.
Either that, or they're like, "Oh, who's she? I'd like to meet her." Oh man, that's great. Well, hey, thanks for taking the time to call in. I know it's late where you are.
Yeah, thanks, Gordy, and super excited about the baby.
Yeah, congratulations.
Yeah. Thank you. Well, hopefully all goes well.
Yeah.
God willing, next couple of days we'll be having 2 wee ones here, completely mad on trains probably, but that's just the way it goes.
Yeah.
Hope
everything comes out okay, as they say.
I'm definitely not saying that to the missus. That's just, I tell you, John, you should know about it.
No, you just need to say to her, "What can I do for you?"
Yes, how can I help? Can I get you some ice?
Yeah.
Oh man.
They're talking in chat about how virtual events are doing good, and I was actually a presenter at an NMRA division meeting that I thought was Texas, just Texas NMRA. No, it was all sorts of divisions that had just kind of latched onto theirs, and they just all started attending. So there were people in California, there were people in Georgia, there were people like from all over the country in the Texas division NMRA meeting.
No, it's just Team NMRA.
Yeah, so it's team. You're right. You should just rename it Team NMRA, and just because it was very cool. It was really neat.
Watch it. That's coming out. I want everyone to start using hashtag Team NMRA on all your events and activities from July. It'll be it's the first marketing campaign I'm working with our marketing director for after I become president. I can't do any changes or make any changes now, so it's not right. We've still got President Pete until the 2nd of July, and then we'll make some changes. But yeah, definitely that's a great example of Team NMRA.
Yeah, it was neat. So thanks for all you do, Gordy. We'll let you go to bed.
Yeah, get some sleep. You know what's going to happen as soon as he turns off his computer? It's time, let's go.
That's fine.
Could be.
Yeah, it'll just be another night that you stayed up all night, just like you've done for the others.
Just flip on that naval and NHS or hospital manager training to just keep your eyes open for a bit longer.
Yep, exactly. Get some coffee going.
I have very strong coffee in the pot ready to hit the button when she tells me it's time. While we're still cleaning up the mess in aisle 1, right? I'll have the coffee brewing while I'm cleaning the floor, and then we'll get in the car. Don't worry, I've got this all sussed. This is round 2, It's not round 1. This is round 2.
Yeah, you're improving.
You learn a lot. Yeah, you learn a lot the first time.
Yeah.
All right.
All right, man. Thanks for calling in. I appreciate it. We'll see you hopefully on Saturday.
God willing, I'll be there. Catch
All
you
right.
later.
Take
See you,
care,
Gordy.
man.
Bye
See ya.
now.
Oh, man. I wasn't expecting him to call in. That was great.
Yeah, that
So,
was great. It was good to hear.
Yeah.
And he gave us a little secret about his team NMRA. He was supposed to, he was like, I'm not telling you any of my marketing plans. And
Well,
then
you
he
got,
pops
but
out
you
with-
said it, so you knew something. I didn't
No,
know
I
about
didn't.
that.
I totally just said it.
You just came up with that?
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh, you must be a marketing genius.
Yeah, I was never a cheerleader, so team thing. So I don't know. I'm not a marketing genius by any means.
Do you have any pom-poms there? You could
No.
do a little. Oh,
In
okay.
fact, I tried out for drill team with the flags, and I wasn't even chosen.
Oh. Well,
I
they
didn't
just
even make that team. So
they didn't know how good you would be. That's all.
oh no, I was super shy as a kid too. I'm
Oh.
sure I was like twirling the flag and like trying to hide behind it at the same time. I have no idea.
Oh yeah, that doesn't work if you're out front on the parade.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm going to tell a funny story that I want to bring Dave on because he's been sitting here waiting for a really long time. Sorry about that, Dave. So I just want to tell the story of when I met you in Salt Lake City, because I came out of one of the side rooms and I saw your hair. That's how I knew it was you. I was like, hey, that looks like Michelle.
Yeah. The same hairstyle that never changes because I'm not good with hair and I don't know how to change it. So it is what it is. But
I also recognized you at the airport that way. I have to say, I'm not going to lie.
that's hilarious.
I saw you, remember, because you were sitting there and then someone sat behind you and it was me because I saw your hair. I would have been really embarrassed if it had been somebody else, right? Some dude turns around like, who the hell are you?
Well, that could happen. We
It
know
could.
someone who has curly hair like my hair.
I know. I'm surprised he hasn't called in.
Where's Mr. Alvin?
Yeah, he's supposed to call in with one of his wacky questions about whose hair is better or whatever. Oh, well, he must be busy, too busy today. Let's bring Dave on and see what he has to say, because Dave is part of the Illinois Railway Museum, which I'm guessing, most likely is having some stuff happening this year. So what's going on there?
So we have day out with. Can you hear me, John? Am I on?
Yeah,
can hear you.
You're on.
So this year we have Day Out with Thomas happening. We have plans for Scout Day happening soon too. We have Members Weekend that's going to be coming up, and there's still plans in the works for something for the holidays as well, COVID permitting and all that fun stuff. So it's like everybody, like all the previous guests that were on. Yes, even us, we were struggling too, but we also did something called car storage as well.
Oh,
so we can actually store freight cars at the museum.
Right.
So that's another way that helped.
Yeah. Gotcha. Very cool.
There's a whole industry around rail car storage, and it was interesting you bring that up because I was just talking to someone recently, and I'm trying to remember who it was now, but it was
not me.
No, it wasn't. It was very unusual conversation. Oh, I know what it was. It was one of the people that's doing a clinic at the Rails by the Bay thing. And I asked him, because he knows all this stuff about butane and all these other kinds of stuff that's carried in these tank cars and their industry. And he knows all the stuff about how it works. And like, how do you know all this stuff? Because, rail fans know a lot of stuff. He actually works as a reporter for commodities or something like that. So he knows all this really obscure stuff about the shipment and storage and all this, transportation of commodities, including butane. I think he did another one on natural gas or something. But the point is, I was asking him about that, and he was talking about how many cars are in storage at any given time, and how much the places storing them charge. Like, it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Just when you have a lot of cars, right, to store them. So I'm thinking to myself, how can I get a piece of track that I can get some passive income off of, right?
Well, it's like if we're closed, like over the winter and stuff, nothing's operating. So it's a good time to store cars.
Absolutely. Yeah. Make something off of it, right?
Yeah.
When the big boy was still under restoration, our 1630, our Russian decapod, put 135 coal cars out of storage onto UP's main line so they can take it to wherever it is they were taking it. So we actually set a record because of it.
That's cool.
Yeah,
Our
that is cool.
boxcar at the museum came from a storage line in a town near here. It was just sitting there in storage. And so Dave approached the owner and said, "Hey, could you part with that boxcar? And what would you like to sell it for?" And then that's how we got our boxcar. So
And then, as I was telling Michelle, a friend of mine is the chief mechanical officer over at the Sugar Train Railway up in Hawaii. So it's like now we have people all over the place.
Yeah.
So it's like I was like, really, Hawaii?
that's
Very
really
cool.
cool. Yeah.
All right. So it was once again, the Day Out with Thomas.
Day Out with
Mhm.
Thomas.
That's
I
the biggie.
volunteered
Yep.
for one of those before. They always need volunteers for Day Out with Thomas. So if
You know, she actually tried to convince me to come to Colorado and help them out.
I did. I helped last year. I worked at the Colorado Railroad Museum's Day Out with Thomas because you need a lot of bodies when you have a lot of little kids, and especially to make it safe with the whole social distancing and things. It just takes that many more volunteers to make that happen.
But see, not only do we have Thomas, we have Percy too. So we have both of them operating at the same time.
Is Percy
Yeah.
ever naughty when they're together? Because sometimes on the show, sometimes Thomas is naughty too.
Well, they're on two separate tracks, so there's no
Just teasing.
conflict.
I'm just teasing. My daughters watch Thomas the Tank Engine every day, like their whole childhood. So, yeah, I know all the stories about James. He's really actually the naughtiest one, or the troublesome trucks, But
And right now, last weekend, we had 1630 operating for the first time since 2019.
2019,
So,
probably.
yeah.
Have you had a reduced capacity on the trains too, like these other guys were talking about earlier?
We like everybody else, reservations are required, but I think since we've been relieving of the restrictions, capacity might be going up as well. But I haven't heard anything yet on when capacity is going to be increasing to more than 50-60%. But reservations are required, or you can walk in the gate. But it's still we have hand sanitizing, we have signs telling you where you can and cannot go.
Right.
So just the standard stuff.
Yeah. Something else I think is. Oh, go ahead.
The only issue that we have is we don't have food service due to lack of employees, like how everybody else is dealing with it. So we normally have a food service up at the museum. We have a diner, but we don't have staff.
Right. Well, something else to keep in mind, I think, as places are trying to open and having to deal with all these very difficult sort of health orders from various county health officers and all that, is to follow the rules. Because if you show up and if the health inspector comes by and sees people without masks on the train, they will shut down the railroad or shut down the museum, in your case, Michelle.
Right.
And that's not cool. You don't want to be the person that ends up shutting them down and costing them again. I mean, they could go out of business because of one stupid incident like that. So always remember to follow the rules if you're going to go to one of these things and try to enjoy yourself. And
always remember safety first too. You got to be safe.
That's a railroad thing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The point though is that you don't want to adversely affect an entire organization because you're being selfish. That's kind of what I was getting at.
I mean, it's like me a couple of weeks ago. I had the second COVID shot, and I had some side effects from it. And I was supposed to be up at the museum the next day to take an exam. I couldn't be there because I would have shown up there with 102-degree fever, and then they would have told us you need to take a mandatory 2-week vacation because of the policies that we have at the museum. It's like we can't be out there.
Right. Well, you did the right thing, right? I mean, that's one of the nice things I think about the side effects, because it was like almost 2 days after I got my second vaccine shot. It was like 36 hours after, and it was at night. It was like 10 o'clock at night, and I just suddenly got this fever, and I'm like, am I really getting a side effect? I thought I was like past the time when something would happen. But I didn't care. I'm like, I'm just going to go to bed. By the time I wake up, I'll be fine. And I was, well, I mean, I don't know if I'm fine, but back to normal, back to my normal.
Yeah.
So I have a question for Michelle now too.
Okay.
How was Cheyenne and how is Ed?
Oh, Cheyenne was great. So the Sherman Hill Model Railroad Club, based in Cheyenne, has a train show every year. And typically it's depot days combined with the Cheyenne Depot Museum. And there's usually a trolley that leaves from there and goes to the steam shop. And Union Pacific allows this one day a year where you can go on the trolley to the steam shop. And you get that with admission to the museum. So it's a fundraiser for the Cheyenne Depot Museum. But due to COVID and all of that, Union Pacific's not comfortable with people on their property yet and the transportation getting them out there. So Ed came to the Depot Museum and spoke for 4 hours. He did four 45-minute sessions, but it's Ed and he has a lot to say. But it was kind of fun because he didn't pre-plan it. Like sometimes he'll have his slideshow like the way he wants it. This time he said, I'm just going to open up my photo files. So what do you guys want to talk about? So he had his laptop and they'd ask him something. He'd open up photos of what they did and how they restored it. And it was really interesting because it was so like question and answer and just back and forth. So it was really neat to see that. So, and I was helping with that. I'm like the girl that got him lunch. I have jobs. So.
Did he mention anything about Big Boy going on tour for this year?
He's going to go on tour at the beginning of August. They haven't announced where, and I can't say because they haven't announced where.
Oh yeah. I figured if anything Ed would know, but even if he said something, he'd get in trouble by everybody else.
Right. And he's got it all planned out. It's going to be really exciting. It's a month-long tour. They'll be out for a good month. So I think a lot of people have opportunity to come out and see it. It'll be really neat. So
I wonder how far east they're going, because I know they've been out by me, but I don't know if they're going to, that's as far as they can go anyway. So I don't know how far east they're going.
I can't comment on anything about
I know you can't.
I actually don't know the exact route. So
there you go. That's what I was going to say, Michelle. You're supposed to say,
I don't know. I really don't know. I know a few things, but I really don't know very much about the details. So I'm just excited that it's going to leave Cheyenne. I've like marked out the month of August for myself. Like I've got to go see it somewhere. So
I could start a rumor and say that he was seen out here in Roseville, but I'm 99.99% certain that they aren't going west. He was seen out here like 2 years ago. So
I mean, if they go west anyway, John, don't they end up in a big, huge ocean?
Well, part of the problem with going west, honestly, is COVID restrictions and just the safety things that involve that. So
and an ocean. You forgot the ocean.
And, you can't go all the way to Hawaii with it or anything. So,
are you sure about that?
Could you imagine trying to put that on a boat? So that was neat. Ed did that, and that was great. Now, some of the steam crew members were there, and then they all volunteer for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum. And so some of the other steam crew members were up at the train show during that time running our boxcar racing. So a whole bunch of little kids had no idea that they were boxcar racing with steam crew. But, Ted Schulte was an amazing sport and he was a really cool guy to have around all day and had a lot of fun with the kids. The train show was cool. There was maybe 4 or 5 layouts there from Utah to Nebraska, like kind of, that's our region there. Like it goes into Utah and all the way into Nebraska. Spring Creek Model Trains had a huge booth of everything you could possibly want to buy. And a lot of people bought a whole lot of stuff because we're just like, train show. I can touch it and then buy it.
How was the turnout?
Not internet purchased. Very good. The Saturday was really busy and we had a ton of kids we did 2 things. We did boxcar racing, which is truly like that soapbox derby track. And then Intermountain Railway donated boxcars to us last year. And we just they don't have couplers and they're pretty sturdy cars. And the kids pick them out and we race them down and they hit the end and they're boom. And,
so it's kind of like in
lots of wrecks at the end.
It's kind of like in scouting doing the Pinewood Derby.
Yes, it's the same kind of thing, except these boxcars really like to bounce around at the end. They very seldom stay on their track. So that's
I wonder if you can load it up and win all the time. Oh, wait, that's cheating.
That would be cheating. And we random the cars, like you got to random pick one. And then we have Lego, LGB sponsored the Lego deck G-scale that they have. And they gave us a whole bunch of additional cars. And so we have what we call Creation Station and the kids built whatever they want on the cars and then we run them. It's really fun, and adults do it too. It's not just kids. So that's what we did there. We didn't sell anything, so I don't know how sales went or anything like that at the show because we were just there to have fun with families. But there was a lot of really happy purchasers walking around. I bought 5 T-shirts.
Including the one that you're wearing?
Nope, I already had this one. But I found a whole bunch of Rio Grande Southern T-shirts because the Rio Grande Historic Society was there. UP Historic Society was there. And so I got some really cool, like more unique T-shirts. So that's what I bought. But it was a good train show. It was nice to talk to people that have the same interest. We had a lady that showed up at Ed's talk. So there's this girl kind of my age, maybe, and she's blonde like me, and she sits through 4 hours of Ed Dickens talking. And so so of course I have to walk over and be like, who are you and why are you here? Because you're all alone and you're a girl and you just listened to 4 hours of in-depth, very technical steam talk. And she's like, oh, I'm from Atlanta. And she said, I just like steam and there's nothing for me to do there. And I had the weekend off. So I flew to Cheyenne. She flew to Cheyenne to listen to Ed talk and to go to a train show because she didn't know anything about modeling and she wanted to. So I now have a new steam sister. She came to the show. I walked her around and talked to her about all kinds of stuff. Poor girl. I mean, she's probably like crazy lady out there in Colorado. But if you look at my Facebook page, you'll notice there's another blonde girl in the picture, and she flew out from Atlanta just to hear about steam.
You ought to get her on that ladies in the hobby thing.
Yeah, I think I will. I will invite her to that because she goes, I didn't know there were other people like me.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Especially for us girls. I mean, it's really odd for us, to be out there. So I made a new friend.
That's something else, Michelle, that this whole virtual thing is bringing out. You may be into, some obscure car or caboose or something, and there's someone who's just as interested in that in some other country, right? In some other country that you would never have met them. It just wouldn't happen.
That's true.
We can think of 2 people, Rod and Neil, who are interested in the Delaware and Hudson, which is based in the U.S., and they're in Australia. Yeah.
Rod was here earlier. I saw him making comments.
He's with me, with Kevin, and we have Daniel Coombs on tonight as a guest speaker.
Oh, that's great. I like Daniel. He's a good kid. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's not a kid anymore. He graduated and went through college, and I can't call him a kid now.
If he's under 35 and he's a guy, you can call him a kid.
Okay, good. All right. They're still younger than me.
I don't think guys are not kids anymore until sometime after the age of 40, maybe. Something like that.
Do you ever really grow up and then you just turn right back into kids again? So yeah, I guess it's
yeah. The answer is no. So Gordy's wife, she's gonna have 3 kids soon. She has 2 now, Gordy and his first kid. She's gonna have another one, and then that'll be 3. And I'm guessing if he was still here, he'd probably agree with me. If we're honest, that's how we look at it.
Hey, there's somebody in chat that was at the Cheyenne show, whoever Caboose 121 is.
Yeah, I think Container Man was there too.
Oh, that's awesome. Why didn't you say hi to me?
Yeah, why?
Maybe he did and you just don't know because you don't know
that's
who he
true,
is.
because I did talk to a lot of people and I did meet some new people. So maybe I did. I just don't know their username.
One of my friends was up there too. You met him, so that much I know because he was telling me, hey, do you know this girl named Michelle Kepema? I'm like, yes. Do you know this guy named Chris too? Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited for more train shows. I think, we were talking about it earlier. Just we've been very connected virtually, but there's something about being in person too that's just amazing.
Yeah. I just looked up at the clock and we have like 2 minutes left.
Oh, 2 minutes.
So
okay. All right.
I'm gonna let you go, Dave. And there's a couple things.
John.
All right. Thanks for calling and thanks for
Dave.
waiting so long. Sorry.
Well, Gordy has priority anyway. It's like, it's Gordy. Yeah, no.
Okay. All right. We'll talk to you later.
Yep.
See ya. Wow, that went by really fast, Michelle.
It did. Yeah.
Probably the fastest feeling show that we've been on, I think. Well, I think because we had interesting people to talk to the whole time, and it wasn't just us listening to each other talk.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because I could talk to you for a couple hours. I don't know if you want to listen to me that long, but But I do want to mention a couple of places that we didn't get to talk about because, they didn't get to call in, and there's only so much you can do. But I purposely wore this shirt the Nevada Northern,
Nice.
you know, Dirt, the Nevada
That's dirt.
Northern
Yeah,
Shop
you've got
Cat.
dirt. I like that.
Yeah, they probably, even though I invited them, probably couldn't come on because their internet
Right.
out in the middle of nowhere, or out in the middle of everywhere, as they say, isn't terribly great. But they're nnry.org. They're worth, or is it .org or .com? I don't remember, but nnry. something. If you look it up, I'm sure they're doing stuff. We have Ardenwood and the South Pacific Coast Society for the Preservation of Carter Railroad Resources out in my area by Fremont, Niles Canyon that Henry was from. The Coombers and Toltec, Michelle, is doing something in August.
They have a lot of events.
It.
Yeah, they have a huge event in August. The Colorado Railroad Museum last weekend steamed up all their 3 steam locomotives and ran them all at the same time. It was amazing.
That's pretty cool.
So, there, all the railroads are gearing up. The Durango and Silverton just ran their oil conversion for a test run. I think it was yesterday, so that they can go all the way to Silverton, and so that's exciting. Everybody's kind of gearing up and getting going. So if we can support our tourist railroads,
right,
it would be great.
And our museums, right? Because also in my area, another organization that I volunteer at, the South Bay Historical Railroad Society, they have the Santa Clara Depot here in Santa Clara. They're going to be able to open up to the public soon. So, and I can't stress this enough. And this goes for the Colorado Model Railroad Museum too. If you have a museum or a heritage railroad or a tourist railroad, whatever you want to call them in your area, please get out and support them, because they have been largely without their normal income for well over a year now.
Well over a year.
And,
yeah.
And even though they're run mostly by volunteers, there are still operating costs involved. And you can really help by, even if you don't go, send them a donation. If you do go, give them an extra donation while you're there, whatever you can do. Right?
Because, a lot of people think, oh, well, it's just going to go back to normal. Well, it isn't, because our capacity is all still limited. So all these museums and trains, everybody is trying to provide the same level experience. So that means the same overhead, the same staff, the same work, and the same cost of everything for a lot less people. And so this budget year for us is so tight. It's just, and so we have another year. We gotta love our rail people. Gotta love our museums and our trains.
that goes doubly for the actual operating railroads, because their fuel cost doesn't change just because. I guess they use a little bit less fuel. If
I
they
don't know.
have
they run the same amount of cars. It's the people don't weigh that much. It's got to be really close in fuel.
It adds some weight, is all I'm saying. And if it's I was going to say, if it's a train full of really heavy people,
me.
I'm not going to go there. Well, I kind of just did, didn't I? Sorry.
Yeah, you did. That's okay.
Well, on that note, I have another meeting that I need to get ready for that's happening in a little bit less than an hour. And Michelle, as always, it's been fun.
Yeah, thank you. I had a good time today. And thanks everybody in chat. I really do enjoy seeing chat. I know these guys are funny. We've had a lot of beer money donations tonight on the side.
I saw that. We're going to have to actually have, I'm going to have to actually buy some beer at some point now.
So it's in St. Louis in 2022, we're going to have a little group of us from here all get together, and we'll have to do that.
Maybe if we end up all going out there, we can do a live show.
Yeah.
I don't know anybody running the 2021 convention, but that could be a lot of fun.
The one, I'm a party planner, so I'll plan us all a party. So it'll be fun.
Speaking of doing something that's virtual, that's live, that could be a lot of fun. So, all right then. Well, is there anything else you want to plug on the museum side, or are you good?
I'm good. I think I'll have more events for next month, because we'll be doing all our summer stuff and our Star Wars Day. And I bought a Star Wars train, so I can talk about trying to make that thing run. So
I'd like to mention a couple of things before we do sign off. One, next month, because it'll be the last live show before the Rails by the Bay virtual convention, I will be available to answer questions, and I might even ask someone from our committee to come on to answer questions for people who are considering signing up for that. And I also want to mention, so be prepared for that. If you have questions, Michelle, make sure you start writing them now.
Okay, because I will.
Right, and that's fine. I mean, that's one of the things I really enjoy doing this the show with you because there's someone else to think of things like that, because I can't think of everything. You can. You're smart. You're not wearing your glasses today, but I know you're smart.
I got the contacts in. It's like trick glasses.
Yeah, they're stealth glasses. That's what.
Yeah, stealth glasses. That's the word.
Right. The other thing that I wanted to mention is that on Saturday, besides NMRAX, which Gordy alluded to earlier, I'll be a guest on their halftime show, which I think is around 3 p.m. Pacific time, to answer questions about Rails by the Day. Also, that morning, I'm going to do a live stream. It's the second time we're doing this. You'll remember if you watched it, Michelle, a couple months ago, I had Rob Spangler on, and we did something called TSG Live Model Railroading, and he talked about signature industries, right? This Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, I'm going to have my friend Mike Roquet, who has a clinic about understanding railroad signals. And I'm really excited about it because I've seen this clinic and it's full of really good information. And it'll help people understand railroad signals more. And then a week from Saturday, which is the 5th Saturday of the month, this is one of those months that has 5 Saturdays, I put together a special compilation of Amtrak trains for the 50th anniversary of Amtrak. That's going to come out on that Saturday at 9. So
that's cool.
Yeah. So thanks again. If you want to hang out, Michelle, till after the credits, I'll be here for a minute. We can compare notes or wrap up and say goodbye to everybody.
Okay. Bye, everybody. John's going to drop me out now. See ya.
Yep. Thanks for watching. We'll see everybody next month or Saturday or whatever. Thanks.